So this is the last lecture in our series. And I hope it's clear by now that what I am presenting to you is a model of actuality which is much more complex, has much greater range, and is much more subtle than the ideas about reality than we have been taught in our modern scientific education. And I think that that's as it should be, because the inability of scientific thought to grapple with the actualities of our lives, with the significant psychological realities of our lives, has been an ongoing scandal in the realm of thought. And I propose that the ideas we're discussing here are more adequate, both for science and for our everyday experience, and for the extended realms of experience that are foreshadowed in parapsychology and life after death and reincarnation. So I've been presenting to you an ontology drawn mainly from the work of Alfred North Whitehead, but very strongly inspired by the works of Sri Aurobindo and John Gebser. I've been presenting to you an ontology of actual occasions. In other words, this whole way of thought is based on the premise that the ultimate units of actuality, the ultimately real constituents of our existence, are not dead, automatic, mathematically conditioned, vacuous things, but rather every event, every actual event, the events making up the floor, the events making up the walls, the events making up our bodies, the events that constitute our ongoing continuity of consciousness, that each and every one of these events is conscious. Right? Every one of these events is conscious. And every one of these events is the expression of a quantum of freedom. Right? There is nothing in the world that is absolutely determined, but everything is an expression of freedom. Right? We could almost construct an explanation of entropy based on the notion of freedom, that realms of order don't remain in existence because the free variability of all of their constituents are constantly moving toward new and novel forms of order. Every actual occasion arises out of a field of possibility. Right? The universe is pregnant with possibility. Every actual situation that the universe manifests contains within itself multiple possibilities, not all of which are compatible for joint realization. Right? In other words, in every moment, I'm confronted with an array of possibilities, and I can't realize all of them. I can only realize one complex possibility. I can only actualize one complex possibility in each moment. And so as we exist as actual occasions, we are shaping actuality. Every time we make a decision, which is to say in every instant of our existence, we are making decisions that will be binding upon the universe forevermore. This is what Brian Swimme means when he says we are participating in a cosmogenesis. Right? We are creating reality as we go. And we create reality in relation to value. We create reality because in every moment of our existence, we are striving for value. And we make our decisions based on what we think at this moment will maximize value, appreciation, enjoyment for ourselves and for the future, which seems relevant to us as we make the decision. Right? So there are these halos. I like to call them halos, right? There's a halo of freedom, a halo of possibility, a halo of consciousness, and a halo of value that surrounds and pervades every actual occasion in the ongoing creative advance of the universe. This allows us to find a really satisfying way of resolving the mind-body problem. It's clear that no science which purports to make a relationship between experience and actuality can function without a solution to the mind-body problem. If we don't know how the mind relates to the rest of reality, we're nowhere in our attempt to understand our experience. But this way of seeing shows us that some element of consciousness and some element of decision is inherent in every actuality. We could say in this way of thinking that consciousness is the agency of actualization. Whenever anything in the universe comes to have some determinate form, when it is white instead of black, when it is hot instead of cold, whatever determinate form anything comes to have, it comes to have it by a decision on the part of consciousness. It is consciousness that actualizes one possibility among others. So consciousness is built into the texture of actuality. As Whitehead says, there is no vacuous actuality. Every actuality is conscious and has value for itself. It's a universe of infinite preciousness. Now, this particular solution of the mind-body problem also allows us to formulate a coherent doctrine of transphysical matter. Because now, once we realize that consciousness and possibility and value are inherent in every actuality, we can see how these actualities can differ in the degrees of these different factors in their operation. Right? An actuality is an event. It's a happening in time and space. But each happening can vary. And one way of summarizing this is to say that the lower the grade of an actual occasion, the more fully it is determined by its situation. The reason physicists have such success in dealing with low-grade occasions is that low-grade occasions are almost fully determined by the environment in which they find themselves. And so if you understand the environment, you know how they'll behave within statistical limits. This breaks down clearly when we begin to deal with higher grade actualities. This is why, for example, behaviorism doesn't work as a psychology once you get beyond the level of single-celled animals. Because every animal, every rat, let us say, if we're doing rat psych, even rats construct an appearance of their reality and make decisions based on the way they construct that appearance. And they have a great variety of ways in which they can do that. And so as occasions become of higher and higher grade, they are less and less fully determined by the situation in which they find themselves. They engage in greater ranges of novel behavior. They are more actively and precisely adaptive to the environment, but they also introduce greater degrees of novelty into the environment. They are material. Even high-grade occasions are material, or they're matter in the most important sense, because they are in time and space, and because they are causally affected by the past, and because they are causally binding on the future. Those are the fundamental features of materiality. But although they are material in that way, each and every actual occasion is on its inside a drop of experience, just as we, in each moment, are a drop of experience. And yet we are causally affected by the entirety of our past, and our decisions are causally binding on the great ranges of the future. Right? So being conscious and being causally affective, being conscious and being material, are not opposed to each other. They are intrinsically interrelated one with another. And they are variable, so that the higher the grade of matter, the more free and creative it is. Now, we've also seen that in the waking world, The waking world is larger than the physical world. The physical world is just those portions of our waking experience that are inorganic. But the living beings in our environment, and clearly the living beings in our environment determine to a large extent our experience, those living beings always reflect the presence of higher grade occasions, right, of different sort of matter. So every cell is a group of macromolecules reflecting the presence of a higher grade occasion. And it's the higher grade occasion that binds them into their pattern of self-organization. And each of our bodies, which is a collection of cells, to simplify it, is bound into the human shape by the higher grade occasion that we are. And it is our presence in our bodies that organizes our cells cooperatively. Higher grade matter has the capacity to affect the aims of lower grade matter. And in that way, a higher grade occasion can affect a group of lower grade occasions in such a way that it orders the spontaneities of the lower grade occasions. So the free decisions that the lower grade occasions make are coordinated by the aim that the higher grade occasion wishes to achieve. And so the waking world is not the physical world. Those are different concepts. The waking world is the physical world as it is pervaded and ordered by the presence of vast numbers of higher grade occasions, or of subtler or more transphysical matter. In order to understand this waking world, we have to take into account a larger set of causal interactions than those that are dealt with by science. Science tries to understand everything in terms of what they call efficient causes. Efficient causes are like billiard ball causes. A happens and B follows, and B happens and C follows. Those are efficient causes. But as philosophers have known for a long time, there are other types of causes.